Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today we're doing some Tele-Dad test hands. I'm really excited this week guys, because this deck summons out my favorite monster of all time, Dark Armed Dragon. I really love the way that this deck plays, summoning out all sorts of crazy boss monsters to our side of the field, and pretty much all of my favorite cards are in this deck. So, without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name searched in a single video, getting a signed card to the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron, along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So I'm really excited to show you guys this deck because this deck is a amazing fun deck to play around with. It's basically an old school Tele-Dad deck with a modern twist on it, and I really love that because Tele-Dad is one of my favorite decks of all time, especially with the way that you just get to summon out Dark Armed Dragon to your side of the field very easily. And you guys know we got a pile shuffle because you know that's dad rule number one. If you don't pile shuffle, you run the risk of bricking. This deck is really consistent, and I love the way that it plays because you have all sorts of really good boss monsters that you can summon out to your side of the field, like your copies of Dark Armed Dragon, Evil Hero Malicious Bane, and even summoning out cards like your copies of Beals with the emergency teleport package that you have in this particular deck as well. So you have some really interesting combos in the deck to be able to go into some neat cards in this particular build, and I love that about this deck because you have all sorts of really fun combos that you can go into, especially once you get that first copy of Dark Armed Dragon on your side of the field. You're really going to start running with some smooth plays. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck really quick, and once we get the deck good and shuffled up, we're going to go ahead and go in for our first test hand. So let's go ahead and cut the deck and see what we can do for our first test hand. So we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Vision Hero Vion, Destiny Fusion, Destiny Hero Malicious, Celestial, and a copy of Destiny Draw. So this isn't a terrible hand by any means because you have all sorts of different plays in this particular hand. So let's go ahead and normal summon out that copy of Vision Hero Vion. Vision Hero Vion is going to get us some really neat plays in the deck because the main target that you're going to be sending to the graveyard for this is your copy of Shadow Mist. Shadow Mist is going to give us a search, just like in Heroes, where we can actually search out from the deck any hero monster that we want. So I usually grab the copy of a Dusted Gold, because a Dusted Gold is just such a good card to be able to grab in this deck. So once we grab that copy of a Dusted Gold, I immediately discard it to the graveyard to be able to draw from my deck to my hand, or be able to add from deck to hand, a copy of our Dark Calling. Dark Calling is a great card to be able to add from deck to hand because it's going to help us go in for additional plays in this particular setup. Now let's go ahead and activate that copy of Destiny Draw. Destiny Draw is going to let us discard any Destiny hero from our hand to be able to draw 2 cards from the deck, which is going to help us out a lot to be able to just get 2 additional cards, which we're going to draw into that copy of Dark Armed Dragon right there, which is absolutely amazing because now we have a really easy setup to be able to summon out our copies of Dark Armed Dragon. So now that we've summoned out our copy of Vision Hero Vion, you can use this effect to banish the copy of Shadow Mist, but you might be thinking, well, we have 3 darks in the graveyard. You actually don't, because a Dusted Gold is a light monster. So we're going to go ahead and banish the copy of our Destiny Hero Malicious from our graveyard to be able to summon out another copy of Destiny Hero Malicious, giving us our monsters that we're going to need to actually summon out the copy of Dark Armed Dragon, because this is going to be super helpful to get us into our plays. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and banish from our graveyard that copy of our Shadow Mist to be able to add from our deck to our hand a copy of Polymerization. That Polymerization is going to be pretty key for this particular setup because we're going to be able to fusion summon into some additional cards here. We have a little bit of a graveyard control, so it's totally fine to be able to get rid of a couple of cards on our field in our hand. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck. So now that we have all the cards we are going to really need to summon out our copy of Dark Armed Dragon, let's go ahead and go for it. So we're going to go ahead and activate that copy of Polymerization, and we're going to fusion summon into a Destiny Hero monster. Because we have 0 Destiny Heroes and 0 Darks in the graveyard, you can go in for pretty much any of the cards that you're going to want to go for. So let's go ahead and fusion summon 2 of our Destiny Hero monsters away in our hand, the copy of Celestial and the copy of Denier from our hand, to summon out our copy of Destiny Hero Dangerous. This card's a really good card to be able to summon to our side of the field because we're going to get all sorts of different plays, because this card lets us discard any card from our deck or from our hand to the graveyard to send a Destiny Hero monster from our hand or deck to the graveyard, which is pretty good because now we have the perfect setup with the Destiny Heroes in the graveyard to be able to go in for that copy of Dark Armed Dragon. So We're going to be able to link into a copy of Anaconda, so you don't super need that copy of Destiny Fusion. So let's go ahead and discard that Destiny Fusion just to get set up to draw out that copy of Dark Armed Dragon. So now we're going to go ahead and activate the effect to be able to send from our deck to the graveyard any of our Destiny Hero monsters. I'm going to send a copy of Draw Hand from our deck to the graveyard because I'm going to want to use his effect later to be able to special summon himself back to the field, which is going to help us out a lot in the long term of things. So let's go ahead and see how many darks we have in the graveyard. We have a Draw Hand, we have a copy of Denier, and a copy of Celestial, giving us all three of the darks we need to summon out our ace monster, Dark Armed Dragon. So now that we can activate a copy of Dark Calling on our hand and be able to fusion summon away our copy of our Destiny Hero Gold, or actually let's hold that in our hand, Evil Hero Gold. So let's go ahead and hold that in our hand for just a second and link these two monsters away for a copy of Anaconda, because Anaconda is going to help us out a lot in the long term of things. So let's summon out that copy of Anaconda to our side of the field. So once we summon out Anaconda, you don't have to use Anaconda's effect right away. So let's at this point use that copy of our actually let's use the copy of our Denier in the graveyard, because Denier has a really neat effect. If this card is normal or special summon, you can take a Destiny Hero monster from your deck or graveyard that's banished and place it on top of the deck. And once you do that, you can actually have this card in the graveyard if you have a Destiny Hero monster on your side of the field or in your graveyard other than Destiny Hero Denier. You can special summon this card from the grave. So we're going to special summon out that copy of Destiny Hero Denier, and once we do, we're going to put back the copy of Malicious that we have over here back on the top of the deck. So then we can banish the Malicious in the graveyard to be able to roll into another copy of Malicious, which is pretty good for a setup, because at this point you can go ahead and link summon, you can go ahead and go in for another play if you want to, you can just leave them on the field as is if you want to for a little bit of a defense play. You can do pretty much whatever you need to do with this particular setup. But let's go ahead and use that copy of the Dark Calling to be able to go for an additional play. So we're going to go ahead and use the effect of our two Destiny Hero monsters before we do, and link these two monsters away for the copy of Cross Crusader. Or you could go ahead, yeah, let's go ahead and go for Cross Crusader. We're not going to use this effect, but we just want to get those Destiny Hero monsters off the field, because we want to use that copy of Dark Calling. So let's go ahead and use the Dark Calling with the Destiny Hero Malicious and the copy of our Destiny Hero or Evil Hero Dusted Gold, and fusion summon these two away by banishing them from the graveyard and summoning out to our side of the field a copy of our Evil Hero Malicious Bane, giving us a really good setup for our first turn, which is really what we're looking for. So we go into the next turn, we're going to go ahead and draw into a copy of Dark Grapher, which isn't really going to do that much for us, but you also have that copy of Anaconda if you want to use your copy of Destiny Fusion in the deck after you've done all your plays. Before you even go to the next turn, drop the copy of Destiny Fusion and send from your deck to the graveyard a copy of Dasher and a copy of another Denier, which is going to give us our cards that we need to fusion summon into our Phoenix Enforcer, which is really helpful for this particular setup, because now you have all of these really powerful boss monsters that you can go into. Now, if we pass against the opponent, they're going to have all of this to deal with, and if we go into the next turn, we're going to draw into an emergency teleport, which is going to help us out a lot. You don't want to go into the next turn until you activate that copy of Anaconda, because you're going to get that copy of our Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, which is really helpful to be able to just summon out to our side of the field, which is just an absolutely insane setup to be able to get a copy of Evil Hero Malicious Bane, Dark Armed Dragon, a copy of Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, and a copy of Destiny Hero Dangerous. And I will point out to you guys, sometimes you will have to go into the Cross Crusader if you want to clean up the field a little bit, which is totally fine if you want to do that, which is just really helpful to be able to do. So let's go ahead and go into the next test hand and see what we can do for the next one. There's so many different combo lines in this deck. It's just absolutely insane, because basically you're just trying to get any three dark monsters in the graveyard while you have a Dark Armed Dragon in your hand, and then you can pull off your combos, which is why I kept saying, hey, let's do Dark Calling now, and let's just actually not do that, because there's another play, and you can kind of look at it and see all those crazy plays that you can do as you're playing this particular deck, which is just super, super helpful. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for the next one, because this deck is just an absolutely wild fun deck to play around with, because you have all sorts of different combos. So Let's go ahead and draw and see what we can get into. We're going to draw into a Destiny draw. This is always very good to draw into because you're going to get one Destiny hero in the graveyard and to be able to draw 2 cards. A copy of Polymerization, not too bad. A copy of Destiny Fusion, Destiny Hero Draw Hand, and a copy of Dark Armed Dragon. That's pretty good that we got the Dark Armed Dragon. If we draw 2 Destiny heroes off our Destiny draw, we're going to be totally set up to summon out that copy of Dark Armed Dragon. So we're going to go ahead and just immediately use the copy of our Destiny draw, getting rid of these 2 cards in our hand, and to be able to draw 2 additional cards, which is a Crebons and a Foolish Burial, which is not too bad actually. We can actually do some really interesting card combos with this. So we're going to go ahead and use the copy of the Foolish Burial in our hand to be able to send from our deck to the graveyard a copy of, say, let's see, what do we want to send to the graveyard? We can actually send a copy of our Shadow Mist. Yeah, let's send Shadow Mist, because I was thinking let's send Malicious, but let's not. Let's actually send Shadow Mist from our deck to the graveyard, because it's going to give us a search. So let's go ahead and find that copy of Shadow Mist, and once we do send that copy of Shadow Mist to the graveyard, we're going to be able to search the deck for any hero monster, which is going to be our copy of our Vision Hero Vion, which is pretty good to be able to add that copy of Vision Hero Vion from our deck to our hand, because now at this point you can just normal summon out that copy of Vision Hero Vion to be able to send from your deck to the graveyard another hero monster, which is now going to be that copy of our Destiny Hero Malicious that we're going to get into the graveyard. So at this point you kind of look at your hand and you go, hey, I've got a Dark Armed Dragon and I have 3 darks in the graveyard. Let's go ahead and special summon out that copy of Dark Armed Dragon just to show you guys how easy it is to actually pull off summoning that copy of Dark Armed Dragon. But since we already have Polymerization, we can't use the other effect of Vion, which is fine. But let's go ahead and use that copy of Destiny Fusion to be able to send an additional hero monster from our deck to the graveyard. So let's go ahead and send from our deck to the graveyard the copy of Dasher and a copy of another card like a copy of Denier, because for the rest of the turn we're only going to be able to summon dark heroes, but that's totally fine because pretty much all we're going to summon from here out is dark heroes. So we're going to go ahead and send these to the graveyard, which is our copy of Denier and a copy of Dasher for our level 6 and our level 6 and our copy of our Destiny Hero monster. We're going to summon out that copy of Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, which is just an absolutely crazy awesome card to summon. Now, once we go ahead and send that to the graveyard, we've got some other effects that we can actually resolve if we want to. We can use the copy of Malicious to banish itself from the graveyard to be able to special summon another copy of Malicious to our side of the field. And then if you want to, you can fusion summon if you want to fusion summon into a copy of Destiny Hero Dangerous, or you can leave your hand as is and then link summon into a copy of Cross Crusader, because your Destiny Fusion will just lock you into hero monsters that are dark, which is totally fine to be able to just lock you into those monsters instead of just being able to not summon anything like a Red Eyes Fusion. So at this point, let's go ahead and link these 2 monsters away, summon out that copy of Cross Crusader, and once we summon out that copy of Cross Crusader, its effect will resolve, letting us special summon back a card to our side of the field, which is our copy of Malicious. So let's use our copy of our Malicious to tribute for the effect of our Cross Crusader, and the effect of the Cross Crusader will let us search a hero card from our deck to our hand, which is a really good effect to be able to tribute that card to add any hero from our deck to our hand. Tribute any Destiny hero to add any hero monster with a different name from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect. Now, the interesting thing about this search is the effect of Destiny Fusion has the ability, but during the end phase of the next turn, you destroy the card. And then it also has the ability that after you resolve this card, you can't special summon monsters except for dark hero monsters, but it doesn't lock us into the effects. So we're actually going to use the effect of our card to be able to search the Adusted Gold, because we want to get into that copy of Malicious Bane. So we're going to go ahead and discard that copy of Gold, and we're going to search out from the deck a copy of our Dark Calling, because Dark Calling is just going to help us out a lot to be able to go in for additional plays and be able to summon out all sorts of crazy cards like our Evil Hero Malicious Bane to back up that Dark Armed Dragon and the Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer on our side of the field. Now, you have some other cards in the graveyard that you can resolve if you want to, like that copy of Denier. You can summon back the Denier or just save it to be able to go in for additional plays later, which is usually what I do. So let's go ahead and activate that copy of Dark Calling, and once we use that copy of Dark Calling, we're going to banish from the graveyard that that copy of Adusted Gold, and I'm actually going to banish Dasher because I can recover the copy of Malicious, and I'm not super worried about getting the free special summon off the copy of Dasher. So we're going to go ahead and banish that and summon out our copy of Malicious Bane, essentially setting up kind of the same board as we did last time, which is super cool that we established Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, Malicious Bane, and a Dark Armed Dragon on this second hand as well. I really love that we've just basically summoned out some really insane boss monsters. So if we go into the next turn, we're going to go ahead and draw for turn. This will destroy itself, but that's no big deal because then it'll just revive itself back to your side of the field if you wanted to do that last turn as well. But let's go ahead and draw into a copy of Allure of Darkness that we can immediately resolve if we want to resolve that copy of Allure to be able to draw into another Destiny Fusion and an old school card, Destiny Hero Diamond Dude. That's really cool that we actually drew into a Diamond Dude, but let's banish that copy of, let's actually keep the Karibons and actually banish the Diamond Dude because we have a really neat play that we can pull off. So let's go ahead and special summon back from the graveyard our copy of our Denier to our side of the field. And once we special summon out that copy of Denier, its effect will go off and actually stack the deck with the copy of our Malicious. So we're going to put that back on top of the deck. And once you do, you're going to be able to use your copy of Cross Crusader and your copy of Denier on your side of the field to link for that Anaconda. And then once we summon out that copy of our Anaconda, we can actually go ahead and banish from the graveyard our copy of our Malicious. And once we banish that from the graveyard, you can summon out that copy of Malicious from deck, normal summon out the Karibons, and then immediately synchro summon using these two monsters to summon out a copy of Beals, which is just absolutely crazy. You could summon out Borreload Savage if you wanted to, or your copy of your Chaos Ruler, but I just really love summoning Beals, which is why I summoned it. So then at this point, you can use the copy of Destiny Fusion because for the rest of the turn, you can't summon monsters, but we didn't after this. So we're going to use the copy of, say, let's see what Destiny Heroes we got left. Let's use 3 Destiny Hero monsters and summon out our copy of Dominance. So we're going to use the copy of Plasma. We're going to use our copies of Denier and Celestial. We're going to use all 3 of those monsters that we have in the deck. And we're just going to get rid of all 3 and summon out our copy of our Dominance to our side of the field, which is just really amazing to be able to use with our copy of our Destiny Fusion with our Anaconda. I really love that we actually pulled off all of these boss monsters in this deck. I love like how crazy good your hands can be in this deck. So let's go ahead and go into the next one and see what we can do for the next test hand, because as you guys can see, this deck is fun. I really love the way that you can play with it and all the different like combos that this deck has. Still to this day, even though this deck is a super old school idea, since we've gotten new Destiny Hero support recently, it's just made this deck so good. Like I really love that about this deck because you get all those crazy cool hands. Even if you don't draw into Dark Armed, you're going to get those really crazy cool hands to be able to summon out to your side of the field those really cool cards. So let's go ahead and draw and see what we can get. We're going to draw into a copy of Dark Grepher, a copy of Dark Armed Dragon. Again, I told you guys this is my signature card. A copy of Armageddon Knight, Reinforcements of the Army, and an Allure of Darkness. This is a pretty good hand right off the bat. I'm probably going to go ahead and activate the copy of the Reinforcements of the Army just to dig into the deck a little bit and grab exactly what I want off this card. Because I'm probably going to grab that copy of Vion because it all kind of starts with Vion in this deck, which is what's really neat. The only thing I wish is that your copy of Adusted Gold was actually a copy of a warrior, but he's actually Fiend, which is a little bit disappointing. So we're going to shuffle up the deck and see what we can do for the rest of our combos. So we're going to go ahead and shuffle it up. This is going to go to the graveyard, and then you can go ahead and if you want to, you can normal summon out that copy of Vion and then send the copy of our, let's see, what do we want to send? Let's send a copy of Shadow Mist. Let's send Shadow Mist from deck to graveyard so we can search that copy of Adusted Gold. So we're going to go ahead and send the copy of Shadow Mist, and we're going to search the Adusted Gold and then discard the Adusted Gold to be able to search from the deck a copy of our Dark Calling. Dark Calling is just going to help us out so much in this particular setup because you have so many different combos. So let's go ahead and use that copy of our Vion to banish from our hand, or from our graveyard, excuse me, the copy of our Elemental Hero Shadow Mist. And Shadow Mist is going to be able to just banish to be able to search a copy of Polymerization. The Polymerization is going to help us out a little bit because it's going to deck thin so we can draw exactly what we need, which is going to help us out just a little bit to go in for additional play. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck, and hopefully we can hit a high-level Destiny Hero monster, which we play quite a few of them in this particular setup, because if we do, we can special summon out the copy of Dark Grepher, and at that point, we pretty much got our Dark Armed Dragon, which is kind of the whole point of the entire deck. I really love how easy it is to actually summon out the copies of Dark Armed Dragon. So let's go ahead and see what we can do for our copy of Allure. So we're going to drop that copy of Allure, and hopefully either it's a Dark Armed Dragon or a high-level Destiny Hero. And we actually hit Malicious. That's perfect. Okay. So we actually got to banish something for the copy of the Allure. So let's go ahead and banish the copy of Armageddon Knight, because we're not going to super need that card. So at this point, you can use the copy of Dark Grepher in the hand to special summon to your side of the field by discarding that copy of Malicious, which is going to set us up with a couple of more dark monsters in the graveyard and set us up for our copy of Malicious Bane, which is pretty good to be able to just immediately set up for that copy of Malicious Bane. So at this point, you have a couple of different routes that you can actually go. You can use the copy of Polymerization if you want to, but you're not going to want to actually go for that. You can go for the copy of Cross Crusader as well, which is going to help us out and get us to the exact number we need. Or you can use the copy of the Karibons in your hand to be able to send that card to the graveyard with the copy of Dark Grepher's effect, to be able to send an additional card from our deck to the graveyard that's a dark monster. So let's go ahead and use that effect to be able to send a copy of Denier from our deck to the graveyard, shuffle up the deck, and once you shuffle up the deck, you're then going to have all three of the dark monsters that you need in the graveyard, and we're going to throw out our third copy of Dark Armed Dragon in the third test hand, which is really cool to be able to just throw out another copy of Dark Armed Dragon. So let's go ahead and activate the copy of our... let's go ahead and activate the copy of the Destiny Hero Malicious to be able to summon out to our side of the field a copy of Destiny Hero Malicious from the deck. And we're actually going to do a little bit of digging in this particular hand. So let's go ahead and use the effect of Denier to special summon it to your side of the field, and then put that copy of Malicious back on top of the deck. And then let's use all four of these monsters on our side of the field to be able to go into a copy of Yugioh. Yugioh is going to help us out a little bit, because we're going to be able to draw 4 cards and then put 3 back, which is going to help us out a lot. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck really quick and see what we can actually get to, because we can get into some pretty good cards. Now, we've already normal summon, but he does give us an additional special summon, and we have a copy of Malicious running around in the deck, which is going to help us out a lot in the long term of things, because we have all those really fun plays. So let's go ahead and shuffle up the deck and see what we can actually draw into. So we're going to draw into a copy of Destiny Draw, a copy of Mass Change, Monster Reborn, and a copy of Malicious. Now, we're obviously putting back that copy of Malicious. Let's put back that copy of Polymerization, and then let's put back, say, the copy of our Mass Change. Actually, let's keep that Mass Change. That Mass Change might actually come in handy, because we're not going to draw any more cards. These are going to go onto the bottom of the deck. And we're actually going to use the effect of the Malicious to be able to summon out from the deck another copy of Malicious, which was right on the bottom of the deck. Shuffle up the deck really quick, and we have that Monster Reborn that we can actually bring something back, which is going to help us out a little bit if we want to, because we can actually bring back our copy of... Is you once per turn? I don't believe you're actually once per turn. This card is normal special summon. You can send this card. You can only use the effect... Oh, he is once per turn. That's a shame. So let's go ahead and actually save the Monster Reborn and use the effect of our Mass Change to be able to use it with our copy of our Malicious to summon out a different boss monster this time, which is actually going to be the copy of Dark Law to our side of the field. Now, at this point, you can use the copy of Dark Calling and be able to banish the copy of Malicious and the copy of Adusted Gold from the graveyard to be able to summon out to our side of the field our copy of our Malicious Bane, which is pretty good to be able to just immediately summon out that copy of Malicious Bane. Now, if you want to use the copy of Monster Reborn, you can use the copy of Monster Reborn right here. Bring back that copy of the Karibons to your side of the field, or any of your monsters. Link these two away on your side of the field and summon out a copy of Anaconda, and use the effect of the Anaconda on your side of the field to be able to go into a Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer by sending Destiny Fusion, a copy of Draw Hand, and a copy of our Celeste. Actually, you have to send a copy of a level 6. So let's send let's send Dasher, and let's not send Draw Hand. Let's send our copy of our Celestial from our deck to the graveyard, because that's going to help us out a lot with the draw power of it. So we're going to go ahead and send these to the graveyard, and at this point, you're going to summon out your copy of your Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer yet again, which is just super cool that we got it out again. And the effect of the copy of Celestial is really neat because you can banish this card except the turn it was sent there, and a Destiny or monster from the graveyard to draw 2 cards while you have no cards in your hand. So if we use the next card that we actually draw into, we can use the copy of Celestial to banish it from the graveyard. So let's go ahead and draw and just see what we can get. And we're going to draw into an emergency teleport, which is really good because now you can activate the E-Tele and then summon out from your deck a copy of Karibons, which is just going to help us out a lot because now we have the Karibons on our side of the field. And you can use the effect of the Celestial to be able to banish it and banish any of your other Destiny hero monsters, like a copy of, say, let's leave the Dasher in the graveyard. Let's actually banish the Denier because we've already used his once per duel effect. And then now we get to draw 2 cards, which is a copy of Plasma and Vion, which is pretty good because now we have 2 additional cards in our hand that if we wanted to, we could tribute off 3 of our monsters, like the copy of our Karibons, our copy of our Anaconda, and maybe even the copy of the Dark Armed Dragon if we wanted to be able to go in for the additional plays. But as you can see, guys, this deck is crazy. I love what it can do. I love all the combos it can pull off. It's one of my favorite decks of all time because it's a super old school deck that basically you're just summoning out all sorts of really powerful monsters to your side of the field, along with your copies of your Dark Armed Dragon, which is just an insanely powerful card even to this day. I love this card, and it's just it's my favorite card of all time. Like, hands down, Dark Armed Dragon all the way. So definitely comment down below and tell me what your favorite card is down in the comments down below, and tell me what you guys think about the deck. If you guys would like to check out the deck profile for all the test hands, definitely check the description because the deck profile is always in the description as well. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.